Slaughter Daughter's a badass bitch. As you were. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Slaughter Daughter house. We are actually semi on time today for this episode. Thank you for joining us. I'm here with my dad, Sergeant Frickin' Slaughter, and I am Kelly Slaughter Daughter Remus.
Oh, there you go. As you were.
Thanks for hopping on today, Dad. It's Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Spooky.
Always loved it when that came around, Friday the 13th.
Yes, I love Friday the 13th. I don't think it's bad luck. I have a black cat. I don't think black cats are bad luck. They're actually the best cats I've had have been black cats. I have my little kitten Boo is running around here, and she's almost knocked over my coffee 4 times now. So let's just hope that she doesn't knock over my setup here.
What an appropriate name, Boo.
Yes, Boo. I got her in October. I rescued her out of a storm drain. A friend of mine helped, got her out and then called me and let me know. And so I went and got her. So I was going to name her Storm, actually, because she came out of a storm drain. But every time I tried to call her something other than Boo, it kept coming out as Boo. So her name is Boo.
You can imagine how many cats are called Storm Drain.
Yeah, it would have been Stormy or Storm. But anyway, so Dad,
yes.
We have our Friday the 13th episode. We are going to be talking about spooky stories, ghost stories, hauntings, mysterious things. If we have time, I have like a near-death experience that I had involving a train.
Well, we're time for that. We have to make time for that.
Yes. So let's see who's in the chat, shall we? Who is here? Hey, Scuba Pete. Boo, if I can catch her, she will make an appearance. I tried to pick her up right before we came live, and I picked her up, and she jumped right out of my arms and almost knocked my coffee over. I was like, ah!
Not used to the camera yet.
Yeah, she's shy.
Yeah.
Hey, Super Awesome Geek Show. What's up?
Hey, yeah.
Hey, Zazel. Happy Spooky Day.
Yeah, I like him.
He's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Blues. What's up, dude? How you doing? Gaz.
Ooh. You guys got all these familiar things.
Retro Tinker. What's up?
All right. Well, you get quite the friendship log here.
Yes. They're all here for you, though, Dad.
All right.
Controversial Toy Hunter. Good evening. Good evening.
Good.
Ken, what's up?
Did I ever show you my impression of Count Dracula?
No.
I actually saw this on Sesame Street. Here it goes. Count 1, 2, 3, 4. Not bad, huh?
That was great, Dad.
It was.
Except he went like this. He went 1, 2,
Well, they probably watched it at one time because you maybe watched it.
Right. Awesome. So, Dad.
Yes.
I'm all festive with my bat cup, my bat mug.
I like it.
By the way, I use this year round.
Oh, okay.
I like bats.
Do you happen to see where I'm sitting?
You're sitting at a room in one of my favorite places to be.
Yes.
You're at the beach house.
What room do you think it is?
Um, is it the room I slept in?
It is. The single bed has been moved up to the closet.
Oh,
And I put the lamp over by the bunk beds, and the backdrop is the wall that you probably bang a few times every once in a while when you turn over in your sleep.
right.
The outside wall. Anyway,
Nice.
that's where I'm at.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good deal. Good deal. So, I don't know, Dad, how do you want to start this? Should we talk about the background here is our house in Connecticut that we lived in for 8 years?
Almost, yeah, a little over 8 years.
8 years, a little over 8 years. And it was my favorite house that ever lived in. It was up a
The Remus family. Yeah,
yes. Um,
I don't know. Do we want to go right into that, or do you want to talk about things that happened on the road, like before you were born to me, or you want to go right into the house? We probably should go right into the house.
let's talk about well, we can talk about stories on the road,
Yeah,
scary stories. There's that one that I always loved to hear you tell because it always gave me goosebumps about the person in your back seat.
yeah, yeah. I was in Louisiana, and I was driving back, and in the Louisiana regional territory, there was a lot of road trips, and it was mostly by car. And you could be in Shreveport and drive 400 miles to your well to the east, wrestle and drive all the way back to Shreveport that night, and then the next day get up and drive to the west toward Oklahoma City, things like that. So it was a lot of traveling back and forth. Uh, anyway, one night I was coming back from a match in Baton Rouge, and I was really tired. I was all by myself, and your sister was born. She was about 2 years old. We were living in Shreveport, and I'm on my way back, and I started falling asleep at the wheel. And about the third time, I kept like slapping myself, "Stay awake, stay awake." About the third time I dozed off, I heard the gravel and woke me up. And I looked at the road, and then I saw that there was this glow in my rearview mirror. I figured, oh, probably some policeman or somebody got his bright lights on me, wants to pull me over because that was off the road or whatever. And then I looked and I did a double take. And I looked again, and the glow was still there. And I looked a little bit further down the mirror, and then I saw your grandmother, my mother, in the back seat. She'd already passed. She was gone. She was in heaven. And I heard her voice say, "Stay awake, Bobby. Stay awake. They need you." And I said, "Okay, Mom." And I hung on to that wheel with about 250 miles to go. And when I got back to Shreveport into our apartment, I was so wide awake I couldn't sleep. I mean, it was like, can't wait to tell your mother what I witnessed.
Right.
So I don't consider that a ghost story, more of a guardian angel story.
Yes.
That happens a lot in our family. We have a lot of guardian angels looking after us.
Yes, we do. We definitely do. That actually brings me to my story with guardian angel. So this is not a spooky story. This is another guardian angel story. It's a near death experience. So when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I went to the club all the time, of course, having fun, but I went to raves. So they were like late night. They would last a long time. And we were driving from Charlotte to Greensboro to go to a rave that was happening in Greensboro at one of our favorite clubs, right? So we're driving. I'm not driving. I'm actually in the back seat, and my friend is driving, and her boyfriend is in the passenger seat, and I'm behind the driver. And we're going along. We have somebody following behind us from Charlotte, and we're coming up to railroad tracks, and the arms come down when there's a train, and the red lights flash, and then when the train gets far enough down, the arms come back up, and then you're able to go. So this particular railroad crossing was right at a stoplight. So we're coming up to it, and the stoplight is green. The lights are flashing red, but the arms, we see the train go, and the arms come up. So we're like, well, we can go over these train tracks because the light's green and the arms came up. We go over the train tracks, and as we're going over the train tracks, honk, honk, there's this big train horn, and I look, and there's literally a train at the window.
Wow.
And I turned and watched it pass the car behind us as we are, we're going over the tracks. And I'm like, oh my God! And it goes behind the people that are following us.
Oh, wow.
Because the light was green. So we thought we could go. But what had happened was the train was going this way. And so when it got so far, it triggered for the train, the arms to come up. But there was a train coming this way.
Otherwise, before it got to go.
So it didn't trigger the thing for some reason. It was faulty. I don't know. But it was a near-death experience. We had to pull over. We were like hyperventilating, shaking. My heart is racing even like thinking about it, because I literally was like, holy shit.
Wow.
Yeah. And watched the train go right by us and behind the car behind us. That was the most scary thing that has ever happened to me in my life.
It happened fast.
Yes. So now whenever I'm at a train track, I'm like,
yeah.
Can I go? I'm scared.
I was hoping you were going to tell the story, because I've heard it by different family members, but I don't know if I've ever heard it from your side of the story. Is when your mother called me and said, Bob, I don't know what's happened to Kelly. She's disappeared. I don't know where she is. And I said, oh, well, and you were living in Charlotte, and I was, I think, down in Florida or something like that, and I was getting back. And
I don't know where this is going.
Next thing I know, I hear that you are on a bus going to California.
Ixnay. We're not talking about that.
Well, we're not talking about it. Oh,
no,
so
this is not the episode to talk about that. There was nothing spooky or scary that happened that trip.
No, I'm saying guardian angel, because you told me that a woman assisted you because you got really, really sick. You had strep throat and some other things, and you were hallucinating, and you're on these buses going to California or on your way back. I don't remember. And you said that this woman sat with you at a seat and rubbed your hair for hours, wanted you to feel better. And finally, you got to some bus depot, and somehow you got money to turn around and go back to Charlotte. And you didn't see the woman. You never saw her again. But I've heard that story that you had a guardian angel looking after you on that trip. And that guardian angel got you back to Charlotte. Do you remember that at all, or were you at the raves yet? Were you still at the...
That did not happen.
Oh,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what that story is. But no, that did not happen. I went to California on a bus and back. I had blue hair at the time. And excuse me, that was before fashion colors were the thing. I had it before then. I was a raver. Okay. Yeah, I remember going, there was a crazy lady on the bus. I remember that. this crazy lady who said she was going to spit on me. And I was like, bitch, if you spit on me, it was
Oh,
like this old lady. I was like, I'm going to have to kill an old lady. She
oh,
spits on me.
here, I thought this was your guardian angel.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Off of
So,
that,
all
so what other spooky stories do you have on the road that you want to share before we talk about the house?
I think we should go to the house because that's a whole podcast in itself.
Okay. So we lived in the house behind, that's our background here.
Let me set it up a little bit.
Okay.
So I am transferred to go to New York to wrestle in the WWF. So I need to find a home. And I thought since they were wrestling out of Allentown and Hamburg, that I would try to find a place in New Jersey somewhere so that when I did come home and had to do TV, that I could drive and be in my own bed those 2 nights. And so I started looking around and we found a beautiful home in Chester, New Jersey. It had a turkey farm there. Do you remember the turkey farm?
I do. I remember that turkey farm. That was always a favorite place to stop on when we were on road trips.
Right. So I thought, geez, what a perfect place. It's like 5 minutes down the road and a beautiful home close to where I'm going to work. And we're getting ready to make the move. And I find out that WWF is now moving their TV to Poughkeepsie, New York, which is the whole different direction. So I had to start looking for a different place to live. So our friend, my attorney, Ed Nussbaum, lived in Weston, Connecticut. So after I got to know Ed, I just spent a lot of time there. And he said, why don't you move here? So I said, well, let me start looking. So I got a real estate agent, a young lady, and she took me all around Weston and Westport, different parts of Connecticut, looking for houses. And sometimes we would pull up to a house and I'd say to my agent, I don't even need to stop. You don't have to, that's not what I'm looking for. Because I knew what I wanted. I wanted privacy and I wanted it so it was hard to find me. And so we looked and looked. I probably looked at 50 houses in that vicinity. Couldn't find anything I liked. Finally, she calls me up, my real estate lady, and said, I think I found the house for you. And I said, okay, let's go look. So we drive to this area, and we turn on this dirt road. And we're going down the dirt road, and I start looking around. I said, I like this. And she goes, well, we're a ways yet. I said, no, I'm kind of liking this. And we get up and we take a left turn and we go up this hill. Just before we got up to the top of the hill where the house was, I said to her, I'll take it. And she said, what? I said, I'll take it. She said, you haven't seen it yet. I said, I don't care. I'm taking this house.
Because let's just set the scene. It's a gravel road,
right,
that has a little wooden plaque that's like engraved with the name of the road.
right,
and that's tacked up on a tree.
Right.
So that's our road, the sign, the road sign.
Right.
And it's a gravel road and it's windy and there's trees on each side.
Yeah.
Windy and it's all wood. So you don't see anyone or any of the houses that are built on the sides of this road. You get to our driveway and that's when you cut to the left and then you're going up a hill and around. Right. So you really don't see the house for quite some time while you're even on the driveway. Right. And so then once you get to the top of the driveway, then it opens up and then you see the house.
And there's only one other house on the road and it was up another, like a block.
Yeah. To the right. On the other side.
Right-hand side.
Yeah.
Those are the only two houses on that road.
Right.
But I didn't know that at the time. I just said, I'll take it. And when I came up on the horizon. I was, it was like when I met your mother for the first time, it was like love at first sight. First time I saw your sister and you when you were born, love at first sight. It was like, that's it. That's the house I always wanted because it was so private. And I got out of the car, it was like you were deaf, you know, like no, there's birds singing, but there's no traffic noise or anything. And the people that owned the house were nature lovers. So they didn't cut any trees down unless it was to put the house up. And so we went up, and the gentleman that owned the house, he and his wife owned the house. They were artists. He worked for Sports Illustrated, did cowboys and Indians, and he had a studio in the house. And his wife was a pottery artist, and so I saw the house 3 or 4 times. As soon as I walked in, I didn't even have to walk in. I said, "That's the house I want." I don't even have to go inside. And so we went inside, and it was immaculate. I mean, it was incredible, and it's hard to explain. Uh, Wood plank floors that wide with spikes, you know, and just incredible. And,
So the house, they were artists and they were very into nature,
yeah,
and they recycled a lot of things in the house. So the floors were, where did they come from? From like a barn?
well, the cupboards were from a barn in Vermont, and all the wood that was done, that the cupboards were done with, was from this barn in Vermont. That wood, gray, gray wood look. It was just an immaculate house. So anyway,
And very unique.
very unique. So I saw the house 3 or 4 times, and finally I said, "Do you think it would be okay if I saw the house at night? I like to see what it looks like at night." And so she called up the owner, and he said, "Yeah, yeah, come on over. We'll have a drink." So we went back, and he answered the door again. Now, up to this point, I've seen the house 3 or 4 times with him, my real estate agent, but I've never met the wife. And so I came in, and he had all the accent lights and everything, telling me all about how they made the fireplace out of stone that was on the property. The place where the hearth was had a little indention in it where they could sit. So they said, "Let's build the fireplace right up there. That'll be our living room, sunken living room, and we'll build it right there." And then they designed the rest of the house around that.
And that the hearth was part of a boulder.
Right, right,
And so the bottom of the fireplace with this was this boulder, and they it was ginormous, and then it went underground. So if you see in the picture, you can see the fireplace right behind the screen and porch.
right.
So the boulder went underneath that screen and porch, went all the way underneath all of that land, and then came out right about where the picture ends.
Hmm.
And it was part of what?
It was part of something else that we'll talk about later.
Okay. All right.
And so I was having a drink, and I really liked the look of the house at night. And as I said, I'd never met the wife. So all of a sudden, here she comes out of a back room, and that was his studio. And I'd been in the studio. All it was paintings, and there was a bathroom in there with a sink, and that's all it was. It was a big, big room with a loft above it for all the supplies and everything. And so I didn't really need to look at that. So here she comes out of that room, and I'm thinking, I wonder what she was doing in that room. Maybe she was doing some pottery work. I saw the pottery things were all down in the basement, so I figured that's where she worked. So anyway, as soon as she came through the door, I went, "I know her. I know who that is." she's somebody famous. And I kept looking at her, looking at her. She came up and we were having some wine, and she said, "So you want to buy our house? My name is this." I said, "Well, my name." Okay, yes, I got to know your name, and we really want you to buy this house. We have a feeling about you. We have an aura about you that and she started telling how they built the house and all the uh, cupboards and everything with handles she made on her machine, her pottery machine. Everything that was a handle she made.
All the tile she
All
made,
the tile,
handmade all the tile that was in the bathrooms, in the kitchen, everything.
everything. So it was a work of art between two artists building this home together. And so I said, "Oh," I said, I didn't know that." And she said, "Yeah." I said, "But I have to." She said, "We want you to have this house. We really do." And I said, "Oh, well, I have to ask you something." She said, "What?" And I said, "You're very famous." She said, "Well, I know you are." And I said, "Well, thanks, but I know you're very famous, but I just can't figure out where I've seen you. Are you on television? Have you been in movies? Wherever." I knew her like the back of my hand, but I just
Couldn't place her.
place. So finally, she said, "Oh, we've met before." And I said, "I knew it. I knew." Where was it? She said, "Oh, we've met several times." And I said, "Really?" She said, "Yeah." And I said, "Where?" And she looked at me, and we toasted our wine glasses. We took a sip, and when I got done drinking, she said, "In another life." And I said, "What?" She said, "We met in another life." And I said, "If you say we did, we did, because I know I know you. I know whatever." So that was how that was a kind of a out of kind of a funny thing happening, that I would know this woman that much. And then she told me we'd met in another life. And
Yeah.
then she got up and said, "I'm going to say goodnight." And she went back into that room, which was your mother and my, suite after
Ended
we.
up being your bedroom, which is in the very back of the left hand side of the house where that big deck is. That was where your wing of the house.
Right. And the house didn't look like this because it was all trees.
Right.
And I happened to go there one time at night to just look again at night after the people moved out. And I went upstairs to the loft where your mother and I ended up having our bedroom. And I was looking out this sliding glass door there. It didn't have a deck or anything. It was just a sliding glass door, a couple windows. And it was 4th of July weekend. And fireworks were going off. But I couldn't see them because of the trees. And I said to myself, what a perfect place for a master bedroom. Bed only, just a bed. No TV, no furniture, just the bed. And downstairs will be our sitting room, and the bathroom's down there. And that's how I designed it. By that happening.
Yes. And that house really took on a whole different energy at night too.
Yeah.
It was totally different during the day. And at nighttime, something happened. There was like an energy, like a buzzing about the house at nighttime. And so you had gone up to the house one time before we had moved up from Charlotte,
Right.
and you were sitting on the steps. So it was a sunken living room and it was all open to the kitchen and everything. And so you had gone and you had yourself a glass of wine and you were sitting on the steps and you had built a fire in
Yes.
that beautiful fireplace. And just as a reminder to the viewers, that fireplace was part of a boulder that was in the ground. They built the whole house around it. And then they had taken stones from the property. Hello, they had happy Friday the 13th. They had taken stones from the property and made the chimney. And then there was a very large piece of barn wood for the totally blanking on what that's called, the shelf, the mantle. The mantle.
Right.
And so you were sitting there and you had built this fire, and you guys, so my dad, whenever he does anything, he does it big, right? He doesn't do it small, he does everything big. So when I say he built a fire in the fireplace, it was literally a bonfire.
Right.
It was a bonfire in that house.
Yeah, I stopped at a store and bought some kindling wood, and I bought a couple of logs that already were made up that you just light, and then I bought some regular wood. And, so I had this fire going, and I'm just loving it. And the accent lights are shining down on the rock, and I look over to my left, and we had these picture windows.
Yep, the windows right there in the picture. Those three big windows next to the screen and porch.
Right. And I was looking out, and all I saw was deer. There must have been 20 deer. About 8 of them or so were looking in the window at me. And I'm looking and I'm going, what? They're all like looking at me and like smiling or whatever. And some had antlers, some were little baby fawns, mothers, the does, and I mean it was like 2 or 3 families of them.
Yeah, a huge herd.
Huge herd. It was incredible. So I'm like, oh my God. So then I said, that is incredible. I hope that they come back when the kids come and Diane comes. So then I look over at the fireplace, and like you said, all the rocks were taken from the property and made the fireplace to the inside of our sitting room, our sunken living room. And I'm sitting on the top step before you go down into the sunken room, and every rock became the profile of an Indian.
Native American.
Native Americans. Every rock was the form of a
Native American. So some of them were facing you, some of them were profiles.
Right. And every rock. So I had to take my glasses off. I rubbed my eyes. And I only had like a sip and a half of wine at this point. So I looked again, and they were there again. So then I said, well, I'm going to go look at the deer. They were gone. And then I looked back at the fireplace, and there was rocks again. So I didn't know if I was seeing things, or,
hallucinating, a trick of the eye with the lighting.
I just said I can't believe what I saw. So now I stay over. I get a sleeping bag. Stay over, and I'm staying there for a couple of nights, sleeping right in front of the fireplace. So I hear this noise, and I'm not sure what it was, but I got the feeling like it might have been some mice. So next day I go to do some things, and I picked up a couple mouse traps. So I put them a couple places because the house had been vacant for probably 3-4 months now before I got to move in, before we got to move in. So I thought, well, maybe some mice came in, and I'll see if I can catch them. So that night I set the traps. I'm sleeping. I haven't seen any more deer, no more profiles on the rocks. But all of a sudden, about 2 o'clock in the morning, I hear this wham, like a trap went wham, and it went into the sink, or stainless steel sinks, and it was like rattling. And I finally got up to see what it was. I figured this thing must be huge, and so I
Well,
get
yeah, because usually it like snaps their neck and then that's it. So it was like banging around in the sink.
out. It was going crazy, and I get up and I turn the lights on, and there's no trap. I'm looking for the trap.
So there
I,
was nothing in the sink.
I looked down the garbage disposal. I stuck my head down the garbage disposal. There was no trap down there. I even ran it to see if it was in there, real careful. No, I looked under the refrigerator. I pulled the refrigerator out. It was on rollers. I looked in the cupboards. I looked through that whole house, and to the day we left that house, I still haven't found that trap. So I don't know what it was. I'm guessing it might have been a snake that came up maybe through the sink or something and hit that trap, and it went down, or maybe it was crawling around and got that trap and made its way out. But there was no blood. There was no sign of anything.
Mm.
But that was kind of a wake up call to me. I said, "Whoa,
What is happening here?
I don't know." I started putting some things together: the profiles, the deer, the lady, the owner. So little things started happening. And of course, we leave Charlotte, and off we go with my niece, Chrissy. She was
Hmm.
with she
Yep.
was she was living with us in Charlotte. So she's got a car. We got the Porsche, and we have
Monte
the,
Carlo.
the limo, the Monte
Yeah.
Carlo. Okay. Maybe we didn't have the limo at that time. Maybe I left it in Charlotte. But anyway, we make our way about into Washington, just outside of Washington D.C., and we had walkie talkies. Remember that? We
Yeah.
didn't we didn't have cell phones or anything, and so we'd say, "I think I've got to let the dogs take a run." Okay, well I'll pull over here. So the three cars, we pull over, and we let the dogs out, and of course PJ takes off.
Well, we stopped to let them go to the bathroom and get something to eat. And I think I opened the car door because I was 5 or 6, and I opened the car door and PJ took off
Yeah, yeah.
at the rest area.
He he was just one of those dogs that didn't like to have anybody watching him.
No.
So off he went, and I said, "Oh my God, here we are." You know, the, the girls won't leave until I get the dog. The other dogs followed him.
Yep.
Sparky takes off following him. So now both dogs are gone, and I'm thinking to myself, "Oh, how do I go on any further without the dog? I can't." So I start walking back. I told everybody, "Get in the cars." And I'm about halfway back to this wooded area, and here comes PJ, wagging his tail with Sparky right behind. Okay, let's get in the car. They jumped in the car. Off we went. We get all the way to the driveway. About halfway up the driveway that Kelly had mentioned earlier, the dirt driveway with a little sign on the tree, which had, I think at that time I'd already pulled the sign off because they didn't want anybody to know what road it was. And I don't mention the name of the road to protect the people that are living there now. But anyway, Chrissy's car, we're driving, and she's the last car. The
Base
Porsche,
Commander, hi.
hey,
Sorry.
the Porsche's first, then the Monte Carlo, and then Chrissy's last. And I think I was driving Chrissy's car. And we get about halfway, and all of a sudden it went kaboom. And it was like running the foot feet, and nothing was happening. The whole frame collapsed off of the car. Like it
How
busted.
does that even happen?
It's like it busted. I mean, if that would have happened anywhere else, on that trip, we would have been, at least I would have been in big doo doo because
Yeah.
we're talking 3 o'clock in the morning this happened.
Right.
So we leave the car there, take everything up, have a night's sleep, and I have to find somebody to tow this car out of the driveway because the neighbors have to use that driveway. Wow, that was another. How did that happen? And then we got the car up, put it on the side of the house, and you kids played in it for years as
Yeah.
a play car. And we just it was a miracle that we got from Charlotte, North Carolina, to a half a block from the house there in Connecticut, and that car collapsed. I mean, that was another strange thing.
Guardian Angel.
Guardian Angel?
That was a fun car to play in too. And I remember that car because the seatbelt, that was back when if you didn't have the seatbelt buckled, it would ding.
Yeah.
And the seatbelt in the back seat, something happened to it and it was plugged in, it was buckled, but it would not stop dinging.
Right. And we always gave you kids the keys because the car wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
It was buried into the ground. It wasn't going anywhere, but the batteries was still working and all that. So what a great car for kids to play in. I mean, it would start, but it wouldn't move. So
We'd probably get you'd get a call from Child Protective Services now if you did that. Let us play in a car.
yeah.
So we get there and there's a huge blizzard that comes through.
Yeah.
And
Start there.
huh?
Moving trucks haven't made it yet.
The moving trucks didn't make it. So we beat the moving trucks there. And so now there's been this huge snowstorm and we're snowed into the house with none of our stuff because my suitcase and my sister's suitcase got put on the moving truck instead of in the car.
Right.
So I didn't even have my sleeping bag, my little cute little strawberry shortcake sleeping bag. I didn't even have that to sleep in.
Yeah.
And so in the living room, that sunken living room where that awesome fireplace is, it had shag carpet. It was like a cream colored shag carpet. And it was like what, like 3 inches, Dad? Yeah, 3-inch long shag carpet. Like I could braid it.
Yeah. Never seen anything like it.
Yeah. And so that's where we would all sleep because not only was there this big snowstorm that came through, the power went out.
The power went out.
So now we have no power. It's snowing. So we all camped out in the living room because we had the fireplace and the shag carpet. So it was nice and warm. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night and looking out those windows and seeing all of those deer.
Right.
Like the first night staying in that house.
Yeah. We had heat because we had fuel oil.
Oh, we had heat?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I remember being freezing for some reason and like being like trying to get closer and closer to the fire.
You're probably right because it had to have a motor to pump it, so it probably wasn't working.
Yeah. So
and the moving trucks can't get to our house now. When they
can't get to our house because they had to set up shop at this elementary school parking lot. And because it was fall, it was winter break. So we had in Connecticut, we had like a holiday break and then we would have a winter break in February. And so it was winter break. So they had camped out in the elementary school parking lot and they had to get smaller cars or smaller vans to load our stuff on and like one by one piecemeal all of our stuff to our house.
Right.
And during this time frame, well, okay, I'll let you Are we gonna get to the part of like what that boulder went to so I can tell my story?
Sure, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, eventually we got all the furniture in, and we were living happily ever after. And I made a room down in the basement to be my office and my, as your mother would call it, my shrine.
Yes. That was the only place Sarge was allowed.
Yeah. And so I'd have to even
In
go
the basement
down.
where you belong. I'm
Yeah,
just kidding.
get down there in the dungeon there. So anyway, so we decided we wanted to add a hot tub onto our master bedroom suite. And so we got a carpenter over, and he started building the deck for it, and double doing everything, triple everything to hold the weight. And it was just a beautiful setting where the hot tub sat.
Which is that decking on the left of the picture. That deck, we're kind of covering it with
Yeah,
our faces,
right,
but that was my parents' wing of the house, and the
right.
balcony you can see that's where they slept, and then in the loft up there, and then um the sliding glass doors there went to their living room. And then, so off of that, you can't really see it because we're covering it up, but that's where the hot tub was.
Right,
But it
right.
was out over, I mean, how tall were those beams or those things that it sat on, Dad?
Uh, I think they're as big as you could get. I
Yeah,
think,
they were as long as you could get because it went out and over the grass. There was nothing underneath it.
right, right. They probably the two end ones were probably 25 foot,
Yeah,
uh, 4x4s or 6x6. I don't know what they call them at a carpenter, but they were
right.
big, big boards. And
Yes.
so that's where we're going to put the hot tub. So we did an appearance for the hot tub. I did a signing at the place where the carpenter did his work, and he had hot tubs. So I said, I'll do an appearance for you for one of those hot tubs. Okay. And so it came time, I'm on the road, and it's time to wire up the hot tub. So in the basement where my office was a small door that you could crawl back underneath the house where that big boulder was. And it was just enough room to squeeze it. I couldn't do it. And so they hired someone to come and get the electricity from the hot tub through the rocks and into the room where the power was and all that. So your mother was there, and I was on the road, and she said this gentleman came and was working on it, and he yelled at her, and he said, "Mrs. Remus, Mrs. Remus," very kind of terrified. And she came running, thought maybe hit his thumb with a hammer or something. And he said, what's the matter?" He said, "Creatures." She said, "What?" Because she was at the top of the stairs and he was at the bottom. And he said, "Creatures. There's creatures in there." And she said, "Creatures? What do you mean, creatures?" And he said, "Creatures opened up the garage door, left, got in his truck and left everything there, all his equipment." So your mother called me and told me, so I called our carpenter. Hey, the guy came to wire, and he said, "Well, I'll get a hold of him." So couldn't get a hold of the guy. Went for like a week. I finally come back, and he said, "I don't know what happened to the guy. He left all his equipment. I went to his house several times, and he's not. He moved out. He left. He
So whatever he saw under our house scared him so bad he skipped town.
he left. He left town." So the carpenter comes over, and he said, "Maybe you and I could do this." So I looked in there and I said, "There's no way I can get in there." So the guy had already left he'd left the lights and everything. He just put on a switch, and it looked like a big tunnel underneath the house, And so it was about that wide that you could squeeze through there, but you could see where the wiring would go. And so
Mom got under there, didn't she?
I said, let me see if Diane will go under there. So she came down. I said, Diane, can you crawl through there? And we're going to go up on the top of the deck. And can you feed that wire up to us to the hot tub? She said, yeah. So she got back in there, got as far back as she could, put the wire up to us, came back out. Wasn't even, hardly even got any dirt on her. I mean, she was, and so I said to the guy, to my carpenter friend, I said, creatures. The guy said there was creatures. What? Oh, is this crazy or what? And so that was another funny incident that happened. That, but nothing ever hurt us. I mean, nothing was harming us or causing us any real problems. It was just strange.
Right. Strange happenings.
Right. And
so
I did some investigating.
Mm-hmm.
Want to tell your story?
Well, so you did some investigating, and what did you find out?
I found out that when you and I and your sister, Nicole, we went exploring, and we found this cave. And a little bit further down was a stream. And we went back up to the cave, and I told you and your sister, I said, look, you could see where this was someplace where someone lived, because there's
it was charred. The part of the
charred.
Was charred.
Yeah. But it went way back, but over the years it crumbled.
It had fallen, yeah.
Fallen. So I said, I bet somebody lived there at one time, and that stream was their water, and were they?
Who lived there, Dad?
And so then I started investigating a little bit more, and found out that our house was built on an Indian burial ground.
Indian burial ground.
Yeah.
Indian burial ground where we were sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where the house was built.
Mm-hmm.
And so then things started making more sense. That strange things were happening. I mean, I'd be sitting while you guys were gone or something, and I'm notorious for playing music a little bit too loud, and I don't have any music on. And
By the way, can I just interject here, Dad? Yeah. Has anybody remember the movie Poltergeist? Yeah. Fun, right? Okay, continue.
So I'm doing some book work, and all of a sudden the stereo system that we had put in started blasting. I mean, like as loud as it could go, and it scared the heck out of me. I mean, I jumped up and I ran over and turned it down. In fact, I turned it off. So then I started looking around, seeing if you girls were playing a joke on me or something, because the stereo was outside the bedroom. It was in a little hallway. And so I looked around. No, you guys weren't even back yet from where you were at, shopping or dancing or whatever you guys were doing. So then I decided, well, I'm going to watch a little TV. So I watch the television, and the TV goes off. And I'm, what's going on with this TV? So then I go to see what's wrong with the TV, and the stereo goes on again. And I went, what is going on? So I walk over, I shut the stereo off again. Now I unplug it. Go back and watch the TV again. TV goes off, stereo goes back on. I said, wait a minute.
It's unplugged now.
I unplugged that stereo. And I went over, and it wasn't unplugged. I know I unplugged. And it wasn't unplugged. And now I started thinking, somebody's trying to pull a fast one on me. They're hiding here somewhere. So I go over the whole house. I go down the garage. You guys aren't even there. The car's not even home. I mean, I said, what? I mean, that's the kind of strange things that happen there. The time, PJ, we were,
So
we had,
PJ, so people that know, PJ was a golden retriever, and he was like, you know how they have the runt of the litter, and then they have like the biggest one of the litter. PJ was the biggest one of the litter, right? So he was a big, huge golden retriever.
right.
So Poltergeist, when people ask what's your favorite scary movie or what movie scared you the most, Poltergeist.
What was you? That's the one that scared you the most?
Yeah, Poltergeist was the movie that scared me the most. It still scares me because I totally believe in ghosts because of how I've grown up for
Yeah.
um
You have a reason to believe.
yes. So when we first moved in, we didn't know any of that about the Native Americans and the burial ground and all of that. We had no idea. And so I had was bored in the house because again, none of our stuff, I'm backing up a little bit. So none of our stuff had gotten there. And so I'm bored out of my mind. There's a snowstorm. And so, we probably had like 3 feet of snow. And so I'm playing in the basement by myself. And all of a sudden I was like, I want to play tag. I want to play tag. And so I started running through the house playing tag with, in what my mind I thought was just like an imaginary friend, right? And this only happened one time. And so I was like imagining this boy chasing me, and then I would chase him and he would chase me, and like, oh, I got you. And then we would start in the basement. We would like go up and run up the stairs and run through the house all the way to where my parents' part of the house was. And then we'd stop and laugh. Oh, that was so funny. Let's go again. And then we'd run to a different part of the house, through the kitchen to the bedrooms where my sister and I stayed. And, just like going all through the house, chasing each other. I'm chasing this imaginary boy. And if you ask me what he looked like, he was a little boy. He was my age. So he was around 5 or 6. He had a loincloth on. He had darker skin than me. And he had long black hair. And it was pulled up into like a ponytail type of thing. And Gaz just turned on all the lights in his house. And so I played with this little boy for probably 30 minutes running around the house. And I think my mom was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you running through the house? And I'm like, I'm playing tag. And she's like, with who? I'm like, my friend. Running through there. Yeah. So I never really thought anything about that. I just felt like it was just like my imagination, and it wasn't until years later when I was thinking about it, and it just like that memory popped in my head. And I was like, I was playing with a ghost and I had no idea that that's what was happening. I just thought it was like in my mind. And, I'm sure there are people out there that will still say that was in your mind. You were just, bored and made it up. But I'm telling you, I was being chased by him and I was chasing him. We were going back and forth. So, but that was before we knew anything about them, the Native American land that we were on. So, but again, it was never, it wasn't malignant. Like, it was not evil. It wasn't like poltergeist. You know what I mean? It was just like I don't know if we were picking up the energies because of you know what I mean, Dad? Like, it was never anything bad. Like nothing bad ever happened to us. It was always like fun things, like being chased or the lights going on and off, or like your story that you were saying. It was never like I was never scared. Things would go missing. I would have I had porcelain dolls that I collected, and I called it my special shelf, and that's where I would have some of my porcelain dolls, and I would have other little knickknacks and crystals because I've always been into crystals and things, and that was my special shelf, and so I would have it there, and I would go to bed, and I had everything was facing a certain way on my special shelf, and I would hear something and I would roll over and look, and one of my dolls would have been moved, so it was like looking at me. Or um something else, like one of my Cabbage Patch kids that would be on the floor. I'd get up and go to the bathroom, and I'd come back, and that Cabbage Patch kid was now in my bed. And I'd be like, huh, that's weird. I thought it was on the floor. I was a kid. I didn't, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't like, oh my God, there's something in here. I was just like, oh, I thought I put that on the floor, you know? So things like that would happen. And when we moved away from Connecticut, I never saw my dolls again. Never. I have no idea what happened to them. No idea.
Well, to back up a little bit, when I decided to buy the house, I couldn't make up my mind. I just knew that I wanted it. But somebody else came in while I was on the road for 3 weeks and bought the house from underneath me. And I was so hurt and thinking, why did I wait? I should have bought the house. I wanted that house. That was the house I've always wanted. Why didn't I buy it? And so the people, they were disappointed that I didn't buy the house. Somebody else bought the house. So
Are you going to name who that somebody else was that bought the house?
So they left. The people, yeah, I am. And so the people left, and they're gone to Montana now because that's where he could see more Indian artifacts and different types of animals for his art. And I don't know why she just went because they were married, I guess. So
you can do pottery from anywhere.
So the house was empty, like I said earlier, for about 3 or 4 months. And my attorney, Ed Nussbaum, called me one day and said, "Hey, Bob, remember that house that you liked over in Weston?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I sure wish I'd have bought that house." He said, "Well, you really want it?" And I said, "I would give anything." And he said, "Well, it's back on the market." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, it's back on the market. Whoever bought it decided to let it go." So why would somebody want to let that go? So here I find out that the people that bought the house, it was a 2-acre zone or 4-acre zone, and the house was on like the ittiest bitty piece of property, kept it from being 4 acres. And whoever bought the house wanted to build another house on it or a guest house, something on the property, but because it didn't span out to be 4 acres, they let it go. And I found out later that person was Robert Redford, the actor.
Robert Redford.
He bought the house from underneath me because he and Paul Newman lived in Westport, and they lived near each other, and it wasn't too far from where our house was. So Robert decided he wanted to get closer to Paul and buy a house not too far from Paul Newman, and I guess add an extra room or
another dwelling, and he couldn't.
Well,
the property wasn't big enough.
So I snatched that thing up as fast as I could, and that's how we ended up getting the house. But
thanks, Robert.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. You always were one of my favorites.
Yes.
But I ran into him many times up in the Western Center there. It was beautiful, nice man.
Yes. So Was there anything else? We had another worker that came in and had to go in the crawl space through the basement to do some wiring, and she took off too.
Yeah, she left also.
Yeah, she left
Hey,
also. Again, left all of her tools.
yeah. She never said anything about creatures. She just left.
Right. She just
So
took off.
when we decided to get all this new furniture, and we did the master bedroom suite, and we had a beautiful carpet, and we didn't want PJ to go into our bedroom. So we first we had taken, because PJ was a runner, and we put invisible fencing around
The property.
so that he wouldn't run off. And so when we want to put it indoors, the gentleman that worked for the company said, "You don't have to install it. All you got to do is put the white uh,
String.
string up." And when PJ sees that, he knows he's not supposed to go there because he'll get shocked.
Right.
So all we did was put the string up in where the master the
Living room. Yeah.
and so PJ would walk up to it and turn around and never. So one night we were in bed, your mother and I hear she's asleep, and I hear PJ walking. I said, "Oh Jesus!" So I said, "PJ, come on, come on," because there was some stormy, and he probably, I thought, well, he'd probably get scared.
Yeah, I get scared at thunderstorms.
He was going to go right through that shock no matter what, because he wanted to be by one of us. And so I waited for him. He didn't come. So then I called him again and woke your mother up. She said, "What are you calling PJ for?" I said, "Because he's downstairs in the sitting room." She said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, maybe it's one of the kids." So I yelled out, "Kelly, Kelly." No answer. "Nicole, Nikki." No answer. "PJ, PJ." She said, "Well, you better go check." So I get up, go down the flight of stairs, turn the lights on. There's nothing there. So I said, "Well, I'll go see maybe PJ went back." PJ's in his bed, fast asleep. So I said, "Well, maybe one of the girls." I open up your bedroom door. You're fast asleep. I open up Nicole's bedroom door. She's fast asleep. I said, "Wait a minute." I know I heard somebody walking. So I go back up into the bed, try to go back to sleep. I hear it again. Somebody's walking on the carpet downstairs. So I said, "Diane." She said, "Yeah." I said, "Do you hear that?" She goes, "Yeah." "Who is it?" "It's one of the girls." "PJ?" "It's no." I, she said, "Oh, I'll get up." So she gets up, comes back. She said, "PJ's asleep in his bed. Both girls are asleep. What's the noise?" I said, "I have no idea." But we both heard it. It wasn't like I heard it and somebody else did, but we both heard it. You know? So things like that happen. I can't tell you what it was. I know that it happened. Remember the time I got the 5 stones?
Yes. So we had been in Stillwater, Minnesota, right? At that store. And so we were in Stillwater, Minnesota, which is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful town. If you ever have a chance to go there, well, Minnesota is beautiful in and of itself, but Stillwater, my uncle had a antique store and like an old mill. And in that old mill, there was a crystal store. And we had gone in there, and because I loved crystals since I can remember. And so I spent we were visiting my uncle at he had a restaurant and a antique shop in the same place. So we were visiting with him. And so I would go over to the crystal store, and I would spend all the time that I could in this crystal store looking at all the different crystals and what the jewelry and things like that. And so I think you came over to be like, "We have to go. Like, it's time to go." And I'm like, "Well, can you buy me this and this and this?" And I had like a whole plethora of things that I wanted you to buy for me. And so while we were there, the lady that ran the shop, or the two ladies that ran the shop, were telling you about crystals. And what did they say about crystals?
They said for me to stick my hand, there was 5 bowls. To stick my hand into the first bowl, feel around, and when I felt the stone that really felt good to me, to take it out, put it down, and then go in the next bowl. Do the same thing. And I did it to all 5 bowls. And after I got them, she said, "That's no charge. Take these with you. That's good luck for you. That's going to be your good luck." And boy, oh boy.
Well, wait, she told you that once you have gotten out of the stone what you need out of the stone, it will leave you. Right? Right. Okay. You left that
Well,
part of the story out. Okay.
so anyway, a lot of bad things, bad luck was happening. I was missing airplanes. I was running into traffic. I get a flat tire. A plethora, as you said earlier, of things were happening to me. And this was going on for about 2 or 3 months. So your mother and I decided we're going to go out and have some fun, because we've been kind of bickering at each other and having a tough time. And I was on the road a lot. I had a couple of days off, so I said, "Let's go out for dinner." So we picked the place. I think we went to the sushi bar up in Westport there. Uh, anyway, so I had the stones in my pocket, and I took them out of my pocket, put them on the dresser, shaved, showered, got ready to go, got dressed up, and I went to put the stones in my pocket, and I said, "You know what? I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave them here tonight. I'm gonna leave them right on my dresser, right, right in the row I put them." And I said, "We'll see what happens." So your mother and I go out, and we have the best dinner, the best sushi we've probably ever ate. And we laughed, danced, and all kinds of. Come back that night.
Got into that sake, huh?
Yeah, yeah, Nagori. And so I went to get ready for bed, and I look at the dresser, and my 5 stones are gone. And I said, "Oh, they must have fallen." I looked everywhere I could to try to find those stones. I pulled out the drawers, I pulled out the back of the dresser. I looked everywhere for those stones. So I told your mother, who by the time I get up there was fast asleep. So I said, she said, "What were you doing?" I said, "I'm looking for those stones." She said, "Oh, well, probably one of the girls took them." Oh, okay. So I go to bed, wake up the next morning, having breakfast. Kelly, yeah, Dad, did you happen to go into to our bedroom and take any of my stones? What stones, Dad? You didn't even know what about anything about it, because I've known him with it. You said, "I don't know anything about your stones, Dad." So then Nicole came up. She had breakfast. "Nicole, did you happen to take Daddy's stones out of the bedroom? If you did, no problem." She said, "I don't know what you're talking about, Daddy." I said, "There's like 5 stones I used to wear." "No, I haven't seen it." And I never saw them again. And boy, did my luck start changing. Holy cow, that was another thing that even when we moved out of that house, when everything was out of that house, I was on my hands and knees looking for those stones, because I knew they had to be there somehow. Where else did they go? If you guys did take them and you swore that you did take them, I believed you. They had to. Somebody took those stones, because they weren't good luck. They were the worst thing for me, evidently.
Mm-hmm.
Another guardian angel,
Another
or
guardian angel.
whoever was there, a lot of strange things happen. I one time when we had to sell the house, uh, what I told your mother, you get everything you need, and the girls, you take everything you need, and whatever's left back, I'll either donate it or it's going in the trash. Okay, so everybody got what they wanted. Are you sure now? Everybody's got what they wanted? Yeah. And so I'm getting ready now, but a month later, I got everything packed up. Before I decide to leave, I walk through the hallway and I look up and I said, there's a scuttle hole there in the hallway. And I've never went up there because it didn't have like a ladder or anything that you could pull down. It was just a board in the ceiling.
But Dad, you might not remember this, but it used to be like that. And then you guys put in a attic door there.
Oh, we did.
Because when you put the attic door in there, I would, because I was an angel, I would pull the attic door down and I would go up there and.
Oh, is that really? Oh, I never went up there. I just told the carpenter to put in a thing.
It was empty. There wasn't anything in there, but except for my little stash of cigarettes.
Yeah. You're grounded. So anyway,
yeah,
I said, I'm going to see what's up there because I'd never been up. So I pull it down and there was a pull cord. You could turn the light on. I pulled the cord, walked up the steps, and there was row after row of clothes up there. Most of them had tags on them.
Like designer clothes.
Designer clothes.
Brand new.
On a hanger so they didn't drop on the floor. They were made specifically for certain heights of clothes. Then there was taller ones for longer dresses. It was all women's clothes. All women's clothes. So I crawl back down. I get to the phone and I call your mother up. I said, what do you want me to do with all of your clothes up in the attic? She said, what clothes? I said, the clothes you left in the attic. She said, I didn't leave any clothes up there. I said, wait a minute. There's got to be 500 dresses up here. I have no idea what that is. I said, well, I'm looking at them right now. You want to tell me they're not yours? No, they're not mine. I said, well, I've never been up here. Now you're saying that there weren't any dresses up there, right?
No, it was completely empty. It was like you guys had like finished it so that we could put more stuff in the attic.
Right.
Put floors and walls in. Like it was a finished attic, except it wasn't like a walk-up attic because there weren't stairs. You had to use the pull-down ladder to get up there. And there was never anything up there. There was like a window that I could see out. So when I was being an angel in there and if somebody came home, I would see them and I'd be able to get down the stairs and close it up in time.
Oh, okay.
But that was all that was in there. There was no chair in there or anything. It was just, I would stand by the window.
Right.
Yeah.
So I figured that one out. All those clothes. I took them all down and took them over to a place.
Like a Goodwill.
Goodwill. Took them all there. And they were like, wow, these are like fashion.
They were designer
things.
Right.
Still had tags on them. And they're looking at me like, what are you giving these?
Like, you could resell these.
I'm leaving.
Right.
I went from there and I moved in with over at Stanford with Lord Alfred Hayes. So I didn't have any things that I needed to take with me. So
right.
Anyway, that was another strange thing that happened. All those, I don't know where they came or what.
No clue.
No clue.
So, do you have any other stories about that house?
Oh, yeah.
You do?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I
house.
was gonna tell another story, but that didn't happen at that house.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well,
but we can continue talking about the house.
we finally sold the house, got what I wanted for it. Two attorneys, friends of Ed Nussbaum's and his wife, decided they wanted to buy the house. They lived in Weston, and they loved the house. So she came over and just fell in love with the house. She said, I want it, blah, blah, blah. So I sell it to her. And I move off. I go to Stanford now. So every once in a while, I come over to visit Ed. And I get there, and the lady that bought the house is sitting there with Mary. Not Mary. Mary, it was Ed's second wife. And she was sitting with Kathy, and they're talking. And I walked by, and I'm going to meet up with Ed back in his silo thing there. And I said, "Hey, how's the house?" And she goes, "I just love your house. I love that house. We call it the Sarge house," and blah blah blah. And talked for a while, and then I went to leave to catch up with Ed, and I said, "Do you see any of the ghosts over there?" And she went deadpan. She said, "What did you just say?" I said, "Do you say hi to my friends, the ghosts over there?" She said, "You saw the ghosts?" And I said, "Oh yeah, yeah, all the time." She said, "I know it. They're there. I they're all around." You know. And I said, "Well, they're probably not real happy that I left, but I'm sure everything will be fine." She said, "Oh yeah." So I moved down to Charlotte, Florida, and I get a call from Ed. "Guess what happened to your house?" I said, "What?" He said, "A storm came and ripped the whole top of the house off. Every roof is gone. It's all exposed." I said, "What?" "Oh no, please." He said, "Yeah, it's all, everything inside is destroyed." And I said, "That can't be." He said, "Well, it is." So evidently, these other ghosts or whatever weren't as fond of the new owners as they were of us.
Well, the husband ended up having a heart attack in the house and dying, didn't he?
No, he was at a McDonald's and had his little girl. She was around 3, and he had a newborn that was maybe 3 or 4 months old. And they went to McDonald's to eat. And when he went to leave to go to the car, he had a massive heart attack and died in the parking lot
God.
with his daughter in his arms.
Holding his baby.
Yeah,
Oh my God, that's heartbreaking.
and his other daughter was standing there, like not knowing what was happening. You know, and it was pretty rough circumstances, you know.
Yes, absolutely.
So a lot of things, strange things, worse things happened to the other people that had bought that house. I
Yeah.
don't know any of the other owners other than the ones that bought it from us. But she ended up getting remarried and moving to California. Was I heard she wasn't too happy, but she sold the house and got out of Dodge.
Yeah.
I hope that in case she's listening or watching, I hope she's doing well.
So let's was there anything else about the house you wanted to talk about?
If I think of it, I'll
Bring
interrupt
it
you.
up. Okay. So I wanted to move on to some other. I know, right? It's a good thing I befriended the ghost early on. We were playing, having a great time. I was open to it. You know what I mean? I wasn't scared because I didn't know. I hadn't seen Poltergeist yet.
Well, there was a fun incident when your mother and I, right after you were born. I think you were probably 6 months old. We were living over in Eden Prairie, Minnesota, and your mother and I went to go see uh, the movie about the devil,
The Omen.
The Omen. We went to see The Omen. Yeah, it was a pretty tough movie back in those days. So when we got home, your sister was asleep. You shared the same room with your sister. And I said, Diane, come here, come here. She said, what? And I lifted up the bottom of your foot, and there was 3 6s on it. And I showed it to your mother, and she said, that's not funny. That's not funny at all. Because I took a magic marker and put 3 6s on the bottom of your foot, because that was a sign of the devil from The Omen, if anybody had seen it. So
Thanks for cursing me, Dad. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. And by the way, to all the viewers out there, my mother, when she tells the story, the 6s weren't on the bottom of my foot.
yeah,
They were across my forehead.
Oh no, they were on your foot.
Well, when Mom tells the story, she says they were across my forehead.
Well, the devil put those there.
Yeah.
I only put the ones on the foot.
When we were
maybe your sister put them on there.
When beepers were a thing, pagers were a thing, and you had a pager and everybody had their own code so you would know who was paging you.
Right.
What was my code?
666.
666.
Yeah.
El Diablo.
Scared me to death.
Yeah. So we were in the house, and I was having a sleepover in Connecticut, and we were in your bedroom. You were gone. No, you were there. You were there, but you and Mom, I don't know where you guys went, but you let us take over your bedroom and for my sleepover, and we were up all night and we were doing seances. We're doing seances in a haunted house, you guys. And so we're all doing seances. How old was I, Dad? Like 13? 12, 13, something like that, doing seances.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Ouija board. I remember the Ouija board.
We had a Ouija board, which, by the way, now that I'm older, do not mess with the Ouija board ever, ever, ever. It invites things in. It is not a good thing. Don't ever, ever use it. And don't do seances either. I mean, hello. Are you dumb? I was dumb. I'm messing around with the occult, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was 13. So we played with the Ouija board, and we were doing seances and light as a feather, stiff as a board, and doing all these like witchy things, right? Yeah, old enough to know better is right. So it was very odd, because things during the seances that we would do, like, I don't know, I feel like people are going to think I'm weird, but my friends will back this up. Like, things would come out of us, like things that we would say that were spot on true. And it was like information that there's no way I would know that about my friends' family, like dead family members and things like that. But so the next day I said, Dad, I'm going to do a seance, and I'm going to be a medium, and I'm going to bring Grandma in. I'm going to let you talk to Grandma. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
And we were sitting in the sitting room in the kitchen, which was right off of the living room. And in the living room was a grandfather clock that had belonged to your mother and your father. And I sit down on the couch. I'm like, okay, Dad, you ready? You ready? I'm gonna meditate, and I'm gonna bring Grandma through, and you can talk to her. And you were like, okay, Kelly. So as soon as I closed my eyes, I took a couple deep breaths, and then what happened, Dad?
I want you to tell the story.
Okay. So the clock, the grandfather clock that belonged to my grandmother, starts to chime the hour. It's chiming the hour because it chimes every hour, except it wasn't on the hour. It just started chiming.
Yeah.
So that was like my grandmother coming in and saying hello.
Right.
So, all right. let's move away from the house because we have about a half an hour and then we need to shut this shit down.
Okay.
I'm the best kind of weird. Thank you, Zazel.
Yeah.
Yeah, what the France is right. So now this is going to be another one where I'm going to look like a weirdo, but I swear this is my truth. And this happened to me.
Get it all out. Get it all out.
100% this happened. So I was living in a house by myself. I was 24 maybe, 25, somewhere around there. And I was renting this house by myself, and it was in a really nice area of Charlotte, and it was an older neighborhood. So we had a lot more, the lots were bigger than some of the neighborhoods are now. It wasn't very close together. You had more land, and behind my house was woods, and it was a really cool house, actually. So I'm renting this house, and I have 2 dogs. And they were definitely, one of them was like the little lover boy, and he would show you where I kept all of my jewelry. And the other one, Bailey, was, I'm going to rip your throat out if you try to put a finger in this door. She was the protector dog. Anytime anyone came to the door, knocked, rang the doorbell, Bailey would go off. So I'm laying in bed, and I had just gone to sleep, and I had the master bedroom, which had the, bathroom right off of, it was in my room, and the dogs are laying in their beds, and I'm laying there and I'm starting to fall asleep. And all of a sudden I hear 3 knocks on my door. And so my eyes bust open and I sit up, but my dogs don't move. And I'm like, who's knocking on my door? So I start looking around, and it looks like there's strobe lights outside. So I'm thinking, you had just been to visit. You just stayed in my house, and you had just left to take a plane somewhere. And I see these strobe lights outside. And I'm like, oh my God, the cops are here. And they're here to tell me that my dad's plane crashed and he's dead. So I get up and I go to the bathroom and I sit down, and I can see the strobe lights out the bathroom window. And I'm like, I'm not answering the door. I am not answering the door. And why aren't my dogs freaking out? Because somebody just knocked 3 times on the door. So I get up and I'm standing in the threshold of the door going into my room. And I don't know if anyone, so I do Reiki, which is like energy healing. And I haven't done it in quite some time, but I used to be a massage therapist. So back at that time, I was doing Reiki. And when I see energy, to me, what it looks like is I can see the atoms in the air, moving around, and it'll concentrate. So if I'm doing an energy ball, I can see little atoms moving around in my hands, right? So I look out into my bed. Oh, so I got up from the toilet and I opened the blind and I looked out, and there was nothing there. There was no cops. There was no lights, nothing. So I put the blind down and I stand and I'm looking around, and I don't see any strobe lights anymore. Now by the way, it's pitch black in my room. I haven't turned any lights on because I thought someone was at the door, and I don't want them to know that I'm awake. So I'm standing in the threshold of my bathroom going into my room, and the dogs are on the floor to my right in their dog beds. And my bed is all the way across, pushed up against the wall. So I'm looking into my bedroom, and I'm seeing the atoms in the air. Okay. So I'm seeing the energy in the air, and all of a sudden the energy forms into shadows. So I have 2 shadows in my room. So I've got 2 entities in my room. They're black, really black, but you can see through them because it's opaque, right? And there's one at the foot of my bed. I'm shaking telling the story. I'm shaking telling the story. So there's one at the foot of my bed, and then there's one standing. It forms so close to me that if I had reached my arm out, I could have touched it. And I'm like, why aren't my dogs freaking out? Like, what is going on? There's something in my room. Like, what's happening right now? And so I didn't know what to do. And so I ran and I jumped in my bed and I throw the covers over my head and I start to pray to all my ancestors, to my grandparents, to any of my ancestors to protect me. Please protect me. Please protect me. And I'm in the fetal position, and my bed, feels like somebody's going like this to my bed. So I'm laying in bed and I'm going like this, like this. And I'm like, keep me safe, keep me safe, keep me safe, keep me safe. It stops and I fall asleep. The next day I wake up and I'm freaked the fuck out because there was just these shoe entities in my room. I think at one point when I was praying, I was like, get out, you don't belong here, you're not welcome here. And then it just like stopped and I fell asleep. Behind me. Ah! So the next day I go to work and I'm telling people a story. I'm like, this is the craziest thing that has ever happened to me. I'm telling you, there were two beings in my room, and people were at, well, did you feel like they were evil? Did you feel like they were, good spirits? And I was like, it freaked me out so bad. I don't know. Like, because I was so freaked out, like, I don't know if it was good or evil because I was freaked out. And I'm like, but my dogs didn't like react, they didn't react to the banging on the door. They didn't react to even me getting up. They didn't react to me jumping in my bed. And normally they would jump in the bed with me and I'd have to be like, go to your bed, go to your bed. And then they would jump off and go to their own beds. So a friend of mine said, what you need to do is take your camera, put it at your bedside, and if anything happens tonight, take pictures. So I'm like, okay, I will do that. And she was like, but whatever it is didn't hurt you. So you have to think it's probably not a bad thing that was there. Could have been just somebody that coming to say hello, because they didn't hurt you. It just scared you, but they didn't hurt you. So I'm like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. So that night, I go in my bathroom. I wash my face, get all the makeup off, do my whole bathroom routine. And I walk to the threshold again, and now all the lights are on. And I'm standing there, and I look at my dog, Bailey, the protector, and she is sitting at the foot of my bed, on the floor at the foot of my bed, facing the corner and looking up, and she's just staring at the corner. And I went, Bailey? Nothing. She didn't move. I went, Bailey. She did not budge. So I smacked my hands together and I went, Bailey! Like that. And she just very slowly turned and looked at me. And I was like, oh, fuck this shit. Fuck this shit. Fuck this camera. I am not. So I went and I slept on the couch. And slept the whole night there. Nothing happened. Nothing else happened for the rest of the time that I lived in that house. It freaked me out. Bailey looking in the corner and slowly looking at me like that. She finally like snapped out of it, because then I was like, Bailey, 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 like that. And then she came like running over, But yeah, freaked me out. Nothing like that has ever happened to me since. Although one time I was dating my husband and we had moved to West Virginia, and we were living together, and my husband and I have always had separate bedrooms because I'm a light sleeper and he snores, and it's just better that he doesn't get murdered in his sleep because he's keeping me up all night snoring. So we have separate rooms. So I was in my room in our house in West Virginia. And again, I was starting to fall asleep, and something started pulling the covers off of me. Like the covers started coming down, and I yanked them back up. Started pulling the covers back down again. yanked him back up. And I was like, if you don't get the fuck out of here, I'm getting my salt. And then that was it. Nothing ever happened again. And it wasn't Derek because he was in his room sleeping. Some freaky stuff. Fricka stuff. So that's probably the biggest things that have happened to me that I can like think of right now that are kind of like freaky and scary. Gaz says he's definitely not sleeping tonight.
Yeah, I see that. I think I'm gonna have a tough time myself.
Hey, Scuba Pete. So I did a ghost tour in Key West also. And during the tour, they were talking about somebody, like a caretaker of one of the homes that was haunted, and their last name was Remus.
Oh, really?
Yes. I was like, looked around. I was like, did she just say Remus? One of these people's last name was Remus. Yeah. I've gotten orbs on camera also, in pictures and things. And my Girl Scout troop, we all were like best friends growing up, and we all had a little reunion last year or 2 years ago. And we all got matching tattoos of the Girl Scout emblem. And one of the girls, her name is Sarah, and her mom was our Girl Scout leader pretty much the entire time we were in Girl Scout. She was our leader, and her name was Sandy. And so she was like a second mother to us. And she loved Elvis. But we used to do seances in Girl Scouts too. And like, she would like freak us out by turning the lights on and off. And she always wanted us to get Elvis and all this stuff. And I loved Marilyn Monroe. So we were always trying to do seances to get Marilyn to come and tell us who killed her. And, so anyway, so she was like a second mom to us. And, so we go and get these tattoos, matching tattoos. And as we're leaving and we're going to pay, I was like, by the way, does our tattoo artist have a card? Because we only knew his first name. And they were like, yeah, his card's right there. So I went to grab his card and I picked it up. And his last name was Sandra.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I showed it to my friend Sarah, and I was like, look, your mom's here with us. Oh, it makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
And so she started to cry, and we all like had this big group hug. And then, we told them why, the people that work there, why, because they're like, what is going on? Why are they crying? And so we told her. So we got a group picture of us with our new tattoos, and there's an orb in the picture.
Oh,
I'm
really?
pretty sure it's Sarah's mom. Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So, do you have any other freaky stories? Doesn't have to do with Connecticut, doesn't have to do with the house, just anything freaky deaky.
Well, another thing that happened in the house in Connecticut, Weston, was one time the four of us went on a trip. And before, we had two cats, Hasbro and
Coppertone.
Coppertone. So we put food out for them. We were going to be gone for about a week. And we had places for them to use the bathroom and
they had litter boxes and food, plenty of food. Yeah.
Water. So I shut everything downstairs off. The door going into my office and the door off of my office. After Chris moved out, she used to sleep down there. And so there wasn't a window in it. It was pure black. And Don used to like to sleep down there sometimes because it was so dark. They never knew what time it was. You could never tell what time it was unless you looked at your watch. So anyway, we come back from our trip and everything's the same as it was when we left. All the doors are shut. And so we're there for maybe a half a day. I go down to my office, take a look around at things, and I said, well, I'll go look into this other room that was off my office. I open it up and there's cat. I don't know if it was cat poop, but it was wall to wall on the carpet on that room, and I was almost in shock because when I turned the light on, it was right there, and I almost stepped on it. I went, "What?" Now, how did those cats get in there? The door was shut, and even if they got in there, how did they get out? So that was another strange thing that happened in that house. And I really don't think it was the cats. I think it was some other creature that was in there. You know, I don't know. But I looked every place possible to see where anything could have got in there. Uh, it was smaller than a cat even, but I never. It was all sealed up, so I don't know what
Yeah.
that was. So we had to tear out the carpet, had to fumigate the room, repaint it. You know, it was what a mess that was. But that was
Yeah,
another
I
little.
remember that.
That was really a weird experience. You know.
Yeah.
And of course, we had a snake in the house.
Yeah, we had how big was that snake? Like 6 feet?
I heard something bigger than that.
8 feet?
Yeah, yeah.
It was a huge black snake, king snake. It was a king snake, wasn't it, Dad?
It was just a black snake. I don't
It
know.
was just a black snake, not a king snake.
I heard king. I heard king too.
Yeah, a king snake. Yeah. So we had a king snake living in our house, probably um yeah, totally real, Pastor Chad. There was I forgot what I was saying.
That's why I often wondered if
The snake. Yeah, the snake.
that mouse trap might have been a snake.
It took them months to catch that snake.
Yeah.
After we moved out. The people that were living there when they finally got that snake out, and they said it was like the biggest king snake they'd ever seen.
Yeah.
And Mom says, like, when we first moved there, like you were saying, there were field mice, there was a lot of like little critters and things, and then she said one day they just weren't there anymore. They were gone, and it was because we had a snake living like in the ductwork of our house. And I remember walking in. So if you came in through the garage, you came into the basement, right? And then you would have to go upstairs to get to the rest of the house. And it was all tile down there. And you guys were out of town. And so we had like a nanny staying with us basically. And we all walked in through the garage and opened the door, and I was hanging my coat up on the coat rack, and somebody turned the light on, and we looked down and there were baby snakes all over. That snake had babies,
Yeah.
black snakes. And we were like, oh my God, the snakes, freaking out. And then the lady that was watching us, she had her boyfriend or her husband come, and like we had gone out to dinner, and then he was there with us. So he took a broom and swept them into the garage and then left the garage door open so they could get out.
Yeah.
That was freaky.
It was crazy. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, crazy. So, any other freaky stories?
Oh yeah, I got lots of stories.
We've got about 10 minutes, Dad.
Okay, I hear you're going to join a friend of yours on Monday the 30th of October.
Yes.
Yep.
So I have become friends with Big Boss Man's daughter.
Yeah.
Her name is Lacey. And we are going to go to Greenville, South Carolina. We're going to meet for the first time, and we're going to go see Raw.
Yeah.
Now, you guys know I don't follow wrestling. So I don't even know who wrestles during Raw. Like, I have absolutely no clue. And I have no idea what the storylines are, but I know it's going to be a fun event. And I'm so excited to meet Lacey. And she actually reached out to me when I was having that tiny little Twitter thing. with that lady. I can't remember her name, but she had reached out to me during that time frame, and she was like, people don't get it. Like, if you're not in the business or you're not like the child of a wrestler, like they just don't get it. And so she had reached out to me, and that's how we connected and became friends. And so I'm really, really excited to meet her. And I don't know, Dad, there might be a little tag team thing brewing there.
That'd be nice. That'd be nice. I loved her dad. We had a couple of matches together, but most of the time we were on the same side. We were in the same locker rooms, and he was a great guy. Great.
Yeah. I remember meeting him lots of times when at your golf tournament. In fact, I need to go through my pictures because I've got pictures of me with Big Boss Man, and I want to show them to Lacey. And she, I sent her. Remember, you sent me that picture of you and Hacksaw, Undertaker, and Big Boss Man, and I had sent it to her. And so she had posted that on Instagram. But yeah, I'm super excited. I'm really excited. It's going to be fun, and yeah, it's going to be a good time.
I have to be a best man on October 31st for a gentleman in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. He got a hold of Paul, my agent and manager, and said, I would give anything to have Sergeant Slaughter as my best man. So he said, well, when is the wedding? Because I figured it was during the weekend. I wouldn't be able to do it. So here he's getting married on Halloween, which is a Tuesday. And I said, geez, I wish I was going to be in town. I'd go with you guys over to Greenville. I've got to fly out, that day that you're going there.
Yeah. Well, there will be other events that are close by that you can join us on. I'm sure I'm sure they'll be in Charlotte again some point soon.
Greenville's a great wrestling town. Great build. The fans, they know what wrestling is, and they love to be entertained in Greenville, South Carolina. I have a good friend that lives there. He's an artist, Michael. Yeah.
I love Greenville.
Yeah.
I love Greenville. It's such a cute little downtown that they have, and there's so much to do there. And
Harrisburg, all right.
Yeah, Harrisburg, is that Harrisburg, North Carolina, that you live, Pastor Chad? So I'm in Indian Land, South Carolina. Talk about Indians, Native Americans. I live in the Catawba Nation area of the Catawba Indians, and there's a reservation down the road, the Catawba Reservation, and so the name of my town is Indian Land. But so far, I've not had anything weird happen to me here. Now, my son, on the other hand, has had, thank you, Zazel, has had, he says there's a ghost in his room. And I was trying to help him through being scared of this ghost. And I was like, well, have you ever tried to talk to the ghost? And like, you can tell them to leave you alone. And I got him some ghost spray to spray, which is just, it's like a smudge spray. You did leave a presence in that bathroom. But did you feel anything else weird in that room? Was there a ghost in there, Zazel? So I'm trying to help Rudy through this, and I'm trying to be like, have you ever tried talking to the ghost? You can ask them what they want. You can tell them to leave. I'm trying to help him. I got him some smudge spray to smudge his room and all this stuff. And so I'm talking to him, and I was like, well, maybe your ghost has a family, and, it just misses its family and wants to, have you around and talk to you and play with you. I mean, I don't know. And the whole time he's like, no, Mom, no, I don't want to talk to the ghost. And and I'm like, he's got like his blanket, and he's like, no. And I was like, well, maybe we can ask the ghost what its name is. Because, I'm trying to take the power away from this ghost, right? And he goes, I know what the ghost name is. And I said, well, what's the ghost name? And he goes, Sarah. And I said, oh, the ghost name is Sarah? And he goes, I think so. And I was like, well, what do you mean you think so? Did you ask if that was his name? He goes, no, that's just what she screams. Like, oh my God. So my son has a ghost in his room that screams Sarah all night, apparently. No clue.
Well, the roost is semi-haunted.
Is it?
I didn't want to tell you.
Well, Dad, they say places are haunted, but people can have entities that follow them too.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. 'Cause when I go to bed in my master bedroom, I often smell smoke from a cigarette, which was my father,
Dad, yeah.
and I smell perfume as like my mother, you know. And I wonder if it's my mother and father, or if it's somebody that lived there before that maybe died, or maybe they used that room as their bedroom and they had that scent or whatever. But I don't see anything. I don't hear anything. I sleep with earplugs in and a mask on, and it 9 times out of 10 when I put the earplugs in and I'm getting ready to put my mask on, I hear noises. I hear noises.
You hear noises through your earplugs?
Then I take them out, and there's no noise. So I put them back in, and pretty soon I hear like somebody shut the door or something, a noise. So I just crawl into bed. I figured that they didn't bother me. I'm not bothering them. If they hope they're protecting me, protecting all of us that congregate there. But I'm not afraid of them. I'm not afraid of ghosts. I'm not afraid of meeting. I've had a tough time once you and Derek were on vacation somewhere, and I had my stomach problem, and your mother was at your house taking care of Rudy, and I had kind of an out of body experience.
Well, can I tell the viewers, like, you didn't have a stomach issue. You had like an ulcer, a bleeding ulcer, and you literally lost so much blood
Yeah.
that you needed to have how many transfusions?
Well, that 12 or 13.
Yeah.
I was anemic, but that was my third time.
Oh, that was a different time.
It happened twice before that on the road.
Mhm.
But this time, I was supposed to go to Savannah, Georgia for a baseball game, and I just was not feeling well. And I got back from a road trip, and once I got to the airport, I found my car. I started getting really dizzy and having a tough time. And so I got to the townhome, and I made it up the stairs. And as long as I was sitting or laying, I didn't have any problem. As soon as I got up to go do something, I could only stay up for a couple of maybe 10 seconds, and I'd have to sit down because I thought I was going to. So during my sleep, I got up to go to the bathroom, and the room started spinning, and I collapsed. I woke up, and I was facing the opposite direction that I went into the bathroom, and I never went because I stopped before I went. So I got myself up, and I went into the bed, slept some more, and then when I woke up, I said, I'm gonna call your mother. This is like 6 o'clock. I figured she gets up pretty early. She's babysitting Rudy. So at 7 o'clock, I said, I'm going to come over. I'm not feeling too good. She says, oh, okay. I said, make sure the front door is unlocked, because I could time myself walking for a certain amount, and then I'd have to stop. So on my way over to your house, lights were coming into my view. It was a sunny day. It was clear day, but it was too early for the sun to be really. And I finally had to
You
stop.
were seeing the light.
Saw the light. I was seeing the light, and I had to put some dark glasses on because I couldn't see to drive. They were just. It was so. It's like somebody had a pair of headlights on my eyeballs.
So you're like staring into heaven as you're driving to my house.
So I got to your house, and then they stopped, and I called your mother, and I said, "Is the front door unlocked?" She goes, "Yeah." So I time it, and off I go. I run into your front door, go right to your kitchen where you had the high top, and I sit, and I'm okay because I'm sitting. And your mother comes in and said, "Bob, where are you? I heard you come in. Where are you?" And I said, "I'm in here." So she comes in, and she looks at me, and she's got Rudy in her arm. She goes, "Oh my God, what's wrong with you?" And I looked up because I couldn't look up too long because I'm seeing the light again. I said, "I don't know. I wanted you to take me to the hospital." She said, "I'll call 911." I said, "No, no, no. Don't call 911. Just get Rudy dressed and drive me to the emergency room. Not too far from your house, you know." And I said, "I'll be fine once I get there." So she parks the car, takes Rudy, or maybe she got somebody to watch Rudy, maybe the neighbor lady. So anyway, she said, "I'm going to go tell him you're having a heart attack." And I said, "No, don't tell him I'm having a heart attack. Don't tell him anything. Because then they'll put all kinds of wires and stuff on me." And I just figured I was, in a faint or whatever. So anyway, that was quite an experience when they finally got me in there. And the nurse, she said, "You okay?" I said, "Well, I've been better." She said, you need some blood," because I was like yellow, or I was pretty white.
Dad, Retro Tinker says, that's the most badass thing I've ever heard. Literally seeing the light, puts on darker sunglasses, and keeps going.
There you go.
That
I was
is
tough.
that is 100% my dad. Yeah.
And I told your mother not to call you because you were on vacation. I didn't want you to leave your vacation to come back. But
Yeah.
she did call your sister, and she drove up.
Yeah.
Because they told your mother things that they didn't tell me, the doctors.
Right.
They said he's lucky to be alive, I guess. And so we need to get some blood into him. And so that was, thank God that was my last time at that, because the doctors that were in Charlotte said, if this is the third time this has happened to you, something's wrong. And what was happening is I go to the hospital for 2 or 3 weeks. They keep putting blood in me. And while I was there, I was healing because I wasn't taking any Advils or anything for the pain in my backs and stuff. And that's what put the hole in my stomach, was the Advils. So as soon as I got better, I started taking the Advils again, 10, 12, 20 a day, because it was so much pain in my back. But we finally got over all that, and we're doing just fine.
Yep.
Yep.
The first time that happened, Dad, was at my wedding, and you didn't tell anyone. And I remember looking at you and being like, my dad looks gray. He must be really stressed about how much this wedding cost.
Yeah. That didn't help at all. But
Yeah, guardian angels is right, Pete.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, definitely more guardian angels. Well, Dad,
Yeah.
I love you. I've had a very fun chat with you today on our extra spooktacular Friday the 13th holiday special.
Yeah.
It was nice to reminisce and hear some of these stories again, and some of them for the first time.
Yeah.
You're welcome. I hope you guys can sleep. Just remember, if you have any entities come and see you, you just tell them to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
And you do it firmly. And if they don't get out, you tell them you're going to go get the salt.
That's right. That's right. Thank you all for spending some time with us.
Yes.
Good to see you all again. And remember never to let your enemy eat your breakfast. Yo, Joe. And now you know.
And now you know. Bye, everybody.
I love you.
Love you.
Give everyone hugs and kisses.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll see you guys soon. Slaughter daughter's a badass bitch. As you were.